Aranya Din Ratri is a film based on the novel written by Sunil Gangopadhyay and directed by Satyajit Ray. Almost everyone knows that. 4 friends from Calcutta go on a holiday to the jungles of Palamur. Their aim is to spend a few days away from the urban jungle without bothering about appearances, both external and internal. But can you take off your civilized mask as and when you want to? Let's see. As soon as they chance upon 2 young ladies, one dressed in a sari and the other in slacks, out come their shaving razors, urban attire, and masks of the make-believe. These 2 young women, elegant and urban, are sisters-in-law. About 77 minutes into the 111-minute film, the strains and equations between the characters have just begun to surface. Although these 4 friends try to put their best foot forward to impress the ladies, their fibs and fabrications are exposed time and again. And this is when they play the memory game. In an article, Satyajit Ray writes about this particular scene. Halfway into the film, when we get to know the outer layer of 6 characters in the story, the memory game is played. While the 6 characters maintain their individuality, they unknowingly get entangled into developing relationships. We start to get a feel of where those relationships will eventually take them. Nothing is directly revealed, and the game never stops. But eventually the game becomes secondary, and the traits of the characters are unveiled through their actions during the game. This remains one of my favorite scenes, since it reveals the characters at play. As a creator of the scene, I can assure you that a lot of thought and calculations went into the scene despite its seemingly light mood. It was a spontaneous decision to play this particular game. The plan was to just chat and hang out. Ashim's inquiry about the fair propelled the topic towards gambling, card games, and finally the memory game. The suggestion comes from Joya, who apparently has the weakest memory. She invites the 4 men to a meal and forgets that they are supposed to go to a relative's place in Ranchi. She jumbles up the names of Ashim and Sanjay.
Sanjay Babu!
Ashim.
Oh,
I'm Sanjay.
Probably because the name of the person she has developed a fondness for is topmost in her subconscious. The scene of the memory game is approximately 7 minutes long, with no background score, and the camera is fairly static. It does not focus on anything else apart from the characters playing the game. The shots are mostly close-up or mid-close-ups. The camera deeply observes each character's gestures, eye movements, speech, and tries to delve deep into the thoughts going on in their individual minds. Satyajit Ray wrote down a preliminary list of the names to be included in the memory game in his famous notebook, Kheror Khata. Apart from the names mentioned in the film, there were other names like Rani of Jhansi, Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, Mirza Ghalib, Machiavelli, Omar Khayyam, Hitler, Chaitanya Dev, Dara Singh, Subhash Bose, Michael Madhusudhan, Freud, Picasso, Sarojini Naidu, Bala Saraswati, etc. These were later dropped. Before the game begins, when Aparna is explaining the rules, Shekhar asks if the name of an infamous person can also be included. As an example, he says Gandhi, Gandhi Hitler, Gandhi Hitler Nehru. However, in the film, the three examples are Gandhi, Nehru, Azad.
Gandhi, Nehru, Azad.
Exactly.
In his famous notebook, the Kheror Khata, and this is probably the second draft, we see that the names to be spoken by Joya, Sanjoy, Shekhar and Hori were finalized without any corrections. However, the names to be spoken by Aparna were altered thrice and Ashim's names were altered 8 times. The audience can thus deduce that the end game is actually between Aparna and Ashim. So come, let's begin the game.
আমি বলি রবীন্দ্রনাথ
The first name of the game is spoken by Joya, Rabindranath. This is the first name that comes to the mind of any educated Bengali. Also, towards the beginning of the film, we see Aparna reading Rabindranath's novel Two Sisters. So maybe the name popped up in Joya's conscious mind because of that. Joya is a straightforward person with no pretense, and the camera captures Joya's cheerful expression in close-up. Then comes Sanjoy's turn.
Rabindranath, Karl Marx.
Karl Marx. He is a labor officer who has to deal with agitations of labor unions, who has to perform a balancing act between workers and owners. So it is but natural that this name will be foremost in his thoughts. We see his face in close-up along with Joya's profile. Next comes Aparna. A close-up of Aparna's confident face is on the screen. She adds a name after uttering the previous names effortlessly.
রবীন্দ্রনাথ কার্ল মার্কস ক্লিওপ্যাট্রা
Cleopatra, a great beauty, Queen of Egypt, Julius Caesar's lover, Mark Antony's wife, a self-confident and courageous woman. Now it is Shekhar's turn. The camera captures Sanjoy and Aparna along with a mid-close-up of Shekhar in the foreground. Since he was warned by Joya that the game is not as easy as it sounds, he carefully calls out all the names and adds one of his own, with extreme caution and fighting spirit.
Rabindranath, Karl Marx, Cleopatra, Otullo Ghosh.
Shekhar, who had put on Aparna's sunglasses, comes up with the name of Otullo Ghosh, who incidentally was always photographed wearing his dark glasses. Those days, Otullo Ghosh was a very well-known and respected name in Bengal politics. After saying the name, Shekhar puts down Aparna's sunglasses. Now comes sportsman Hari's turn. Here the camera frames both Hari and Shekhar in mid-shot.
Rabindranath, Karl Marx, Cleopatra, Otullo Ghosh.
Hari points towards each character while recalling the names said by them, and is so relieved when he gets them right that he forgets to add another name. After Shekhar reminds him to add a name, he apologetically utters Helen.
Helen of Troy or Bombay?
Which Helen? There are two, Helen of Troy or Bombay, asks Shekhar. The two Helens are worlds apart. Helen of Bombay is a modern Hindi film actress, cabaret dancer, vamp, who is often skimpily clad. The other is Helen of Troy. Like Cleopatra, Helen of Troy is a famous historical character in Greek mythology. A person of outstanding beauty, she was the subject of many stories and known to cause wars.
Bombay.
ঠিক আছে, Helen of Troy. Very good.
Hari makes a face in response to Shekhar's question, but Aparna quickly comes to his rescue, saying, Okay, Helen of Troy, very good. This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship between Aparna and Hari. Aparna has begun to develop a soft corner for the simple-minded, straightforward, non-pretentious Hari. Finally, it is Ashim's turn. The camera holds all the characters in a medium long shot and slowly moves towards Ashim till he is the only person in the frame. His gestures reek of male chauvinism. He confidently utters all the names correctly.
Ashim what? Rabindranath, Karl Marx, Cleopatra, Otullo Ghosh, Helen of Troy.
He carelessly chucks the stub of the cigarette he was smoking and says, Shakespeare.
Shakespeare.
As soon as he says the name, we see a close-up of Aparna looking up. When we think of Shakespeare, we think of his famous play, Antony and Cleopatra. We recall that Aparna had said Cleopatra. We also remember Ashim alluding to Aparna as Juliet, the other famous work of Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. After the first round, Jaya jumbles up. She knows that her memory is weak. She also knows that she may not remain in the game for long. Yet, she plays for the joy of it, not to win.
Rabindranath, Karl Marx, Cleopatra, Profullo.
Out.
She says Profullo instead of Otullo Ghosh, confusing Profullo Sen with Otullo Ghosh. These two names were contemporaries in the political arena of West Bengal in those days. After she is out of the game, she creates a ruckus which distracts Sanjay. He tells her to stop yelling and let him concentrate. There is a subtle chemistry that is developing between the two of them, unnoticed by all.
Rabindranath, Karl Marx, Cleopatra, Otullo Ghosh, Helen of Troy, Shakespeare, out.
One by one, Sanjay mentions the names correctly. The camera keeps rolling, shifting to each character as the names mentioned by them are spoken. Everyone except Aparna is a little tense. As soon as the camera stops on Sanjay's face, he says, Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong.
The Naxalite movement was getting stronger in West Bengal at that time. Due to strikes and agitations, industry and trade was in a state of disarray. So it is but natural that Sanjay, a labor officer of jute mill, will mention Mao's name.
Rabindranath, Karl Marx, Cleopatra, Otullo Ghosh, Helen of Troy, Shakespeare, Mao Zedong, Don Bradman.
Next is Aparna's turn, and she says, Don Bradman. This name was initially not on Satyajit Ray's list. Aparna glances at Hari after saying the name. The camera frames Hari's close-up, who's a cricketer. He looks happy with a smile on his lips. At first, Satyajit had thought of the name Freud for Aparna, probably wanting to draw our attention to Aparna's complex psychological mindset. But eventually he chose a popular name like Don Bradman. Maybe he wanted to highlight the friendship between Aparna and Hari.
না বলছি রবীন্দ্রনাথ, কার্ল মার্কস, ক্লিওপেট্রা, অতুল্য ঘোষ, হেলেন, মাও জেদং।
Shekhar, in his haste, skips the name of Shakespeare and jumps to Mao Zedong. Together, Sanjay and Jaya yell, "Out! Out!" A flabbergasted Hari tries to get up and leave. Ashim scowls and forces Hari to sit down. Ashim needs all the players to be in their respective places because it serves as a mnemonic device for him to remember the names in the correct sequence. Aparna, on the other hand, needs no such accessories. It all comes very naturally to her.
Rabindranath, Karl Marx, Cleopatra, Othello Ghost, Helen of Troy, Shakespeare, out. Mao Zedong, Don Bradman, out. Rani Rashman.
The camera pans on Ashim's face. He lights a cigarette and says, Rani Rashmani. This name was number 1 in Satyajit's first list, which included 3 other names, namely Picasso, Michael Madhusudan and Tekchand Thakur. Maybe it was Ashim's desire to appear a tad unpredictable to Aparna. He felt he had given away too much of himself. Cleopatra was a name mentioned by Aparna. She had also lauded Hari for his choice of Helen of Troy. So Ashim very consciously says the name of a famous and respected Bengali woman, Rani Rashmani.
Rabindranath, Karl Marx, Cleopatra, Othello Ghost, Helen of Troy, Shakespeare, out. Mao Zedong. কি বললেন?
Aparna is grooming her nails. The camera moves one by one to Hari, Ashim, Joya, and rests on Sanjay. Sanjay speaks all the names but forgets the last one uttered by Aparna.
আছে 10 seconds.
Shekhar asks if there is a time limit. Ashim answers 10 seconds. For the first time, the camera moves beyond the designated characters to show the reactions of others. Time is running out. The camera turns to Joya. She reclines on the ground and quietly mouths her disappointment to Aparna. Time's up. Sanjay is out.
8, 9, blank, out.
Jaya softly touches Sanjay to console him.
Bradman!
She says, "You missed Don Bradman." Before the game began, Sanjay had voiced that whoever remembers all the names in correct sequence will survive. The art of survival is very important to him. Despite being unhappy, he has to compromise to survive in his job because of his responsibility towards his parents and brother. But he can no longer survive in this game and is knocked out. Aparna is next in line. We see her face in close-up, where she effortlessly says all the names and adds Kennedy.
Karl Marx, Cleopatra, Othello Ghost, Helen of Troy, Shakespeare, Mao Zedong, Don Bradman, Rani Rashmani, Kennedy.
Which Kennedy?
Bobby.
Bobby Kennedy is an interesting personality, a confident but reckless man who played an important role in the American rights movement. In his personal life, he was known to be sensitive and sentimental. As an alternative, Ray contemplated on Picasso's name, but in the end went with Bobby Kennedy since it was more contemporary. Now we see Ashim in close-up. As he speaks, The camera veers towards Jaya. Sanjay asks if she wants a pillow. She points to Ashim and says, after he's done. Ashim says,
Take Chand Thakur.
Take Chand Thakur, an almost forgotten name from the 19th century. Very few have read his novel Alaler Ghore Dulal, which is the first novel written in colloquial Bengali. While enumerating the rules of the game, Aparna had said that the famous person's name should be known to everyone. But as the game progresses, we see that now it is between Aparna and Ashim, and we assume that both are familiar with the name. Or is it that Ashim wants to show off his knowledge and love of literature to Aparna? Who knows? As is evident from the notes in Ray's Keror Khata, the choice of names for Ashim this time is quite scattered. Random, contradictory and unrelated names like Mumtaz Mahal, Machiavelli, Bala Saraswati feature in this list. Is Ray pointing at the complexity of Ashim's character or his desire to be exceptional? Especially the name Machiavelli, which is generally associated with traits like cunning, conniving, harsh, or untrustworthy. Ashim's insecurity is making him distressed. The game is no longer just a game for him. He wants to win and to vanquish Aparna. When Ashim finishes, Sanjay goes to the bungalow to fetch a pillow. He happily hums the Tagore song Ghorete Bhromor Elo. We recall that towards the beginning of the film, Ashim had referred to the song and asked Hari in jest whether the bumblebee has begun humming in his ears again, alluding to him falling in love. Sanjay picks up a pillow and another one as an afterthought, looks at himself in the mirror, fixes his hair and comes back and gives the pillows to Jaya and Aparna.
Napoleon.
Aparna thanks Sanjay and takes the pillow. Aparna has just finished her turn and added a new name, Napoleon, the brave soldier of French Revolution who lost the Battle of Waterloo. One wonders whether Aparna is trying to hint at something here. Next we see Ashim's close-up. He speaks the first 5 names. In the meantime, the camera pans to Joya. She is leaning on the pillow and asks Sanjay if he likes Santhali jewelry.
আপনার সাঁওতালি গানা ভালো লাগে? সাঁওতালি গানা ভালো লাগে?
সাঁওতালদের গায়ে নিশ্চয়ই ভালো লাগে।
A special relationship is developing between the two of them. Despite being the part of a family, Joya feels very, very lonely after her husband's suicide. The woman in her remains unfulfilled. Ashim successfully finishes recalling all the names and adds Mumtaz Mahal.
Mumtaz Mahal.
The only remaining player now is Aparna. It seems like she has already made up her mind. She begins to understand Ashim's predicament and does not utter a single word. Her close-up on camera is calm but firm. She has figured out that the game is no longer just a game to Ashim. It is a fight for self-respect.
বোধহয় পারবো না।
Jaya looks at Aparna incredulously.
সে কি রে? তুই মনে করতে পারছিস না?
Shekhar is bewildered. A stunned Ashim looks at Aparna with a steady gaze.
তুই বলতে চাস তোর গোড়ার নামগুলো মনে পড়ছে না?
Don't you remember the previous names?
একটু ঠান্ডা জল খাবেন? কোল্ড জল?
To lighten the situation, Shekhar adds, do you want to drink some cold water from the well?
আমার হরিবাবুর দশা হয়েছে। Nah, out. Ashim Babu Diji.
My condition is the same as Hori Babu's. Ashim Babu is the winner. She proves the strength of her character by conceding defeat deliberately. Ashim realizes this, and hence Aparna's mystique is further enhanced in his eyes. Next, we cut to the fair with loud background score. It feels as if the scenes have finally broken free of the claustrophobic close-ups. They escape the static restraints of time and space and become mobile and ever-changing, as though all the actors have been fully unmasked and are eager to expose their true self. The memory game has thus successfully brought out their true characters. Thank you so much.